Hello everyone, it's Charlton, and I'm going to talk over this woman. It's live at the scene of a Goodwill location in Austin, Texas. And it's not real clear whether this was a sixth bombing or not. There was different reports that it was an incendiary device and it wasn't connected to the Austin bomber, but then the Texas Attorney General was just on Fox. I believe he was on Sean Hannity, kind of contradicted everybody and was saying that the law enforcement officials that he had spoken to on the ground at the Goodwill site where she was just located, and we're expecting a press conference momentarily in the next 5 minutes, that it was connected. I mean, it would be very strange if an incendiary device inside of a Goodwill facility, while there were reports that it was a copycat, but again, I think the Texas Attorney General seemed to contradict that report. In any event, in addition, on Sean Hannity, they were saying, according to the New York Daily News, there was some Reddit poster who was actually claiming credit for being the Austin bomber. And I believe that this is the Reddit post that they were referencing. It's been removed. He called himself the Austin bomber, whose account has been suspended. And the only thing that's left there is other people responding to it saying, do you have any proof, and other things. And basically that person said that, he was comparing himself to the Zodiac Killer, who's the famous serial killer in California who was never caught, by the way. And that this wasn't racial, and that he just wanted to see the world burn to the ground, something to that effect. It says a mysterious social media user claims to be behind the bombings that have terrorized Texas in recent weeks, vowing that he won't stop until he becomes as prolific as the Zodiac Killer. My intention is not to kill people. I am doing this simply because I want to watch the world burn. Someone using the handle Austin Bomber. So that is, in fact, the person they're referencing. And again, the account has been suspended by Reddit. So the anonymous user made a string of disturbing messages in which he compared himself to the Zodiac, the notorious serial killer who was never caught or identified, even though he murdered at least 5 people in California in the 1960s and 70s. The self-professed Austin bomber denied suggestions that the attacks are racially motivated. He's saying they were not. According to, we don't know if that's just fake or what. I mean, that would be pretty bold if somebody was pretending, to do that. But also, if it was the actual person, that would make it much easier to track that individual. So I'm sure we'll find out. The authorities are not just going to let that go, for sure, one way or the other. It's not race-related like the media has speculated, one message read. I also enjoy laughing at the massive police presence that just simply cannot find or de-anonymize me. The poster said he's 30 to 50 years old and insisted that he doesn't have any terminal illness or anything like that. The account was quickly suspended and its messages scrubbed from the site. A spokesman for the Austin Police Department confirmed to the Daily News that authorities are aware of the unsettling posts. We are currently investigating them, the spokesman said, declining to confirm whether the Reddit user is considered a suspect. And that's the end of it. And then they start to go back into the review of what's happened so far. This latest incident that took place at 7 p.m. tonight at this Goodwill location here would have been the 6th bombing if, in fact, it is connected. The 5th was last night at the FedEx building, the FedEx facility in San Antonio, Texas, where one bomb went off on a conveyor track, and there was a second bomb in another package that actually didn't detonate, and is supposedly in the authorities' possession. So, and during the day, I believe they were investigating a FedEx drop-off location in Austin. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that they were talking about their surveillance cameras in that FedEx building. The FBI were there all day. The same channel that's going live, their reporter was talking about it, and they were able to get in there or get up close to the window after the FBI had finally finished for the day, going in and out all day long. And you can clearly see the surveillance cameras, several of them on the ceiling, so that if the individual that sent those packages to the drop-off location that ended up at the facility in San Antonio, even though they were destined to go to Austin, that's what's got me a little confused. That would have picked up that individual. So that's I'm just not sure. I just don't know. But from the very beginning, and I mangled some of the names this morning, or I just couldn't remember them. I think the chief of police is Manley. The two individuals that were killed so far, Stephen House was the first man, 39 years old. That was on March 2nd. That was a porch bomb. Then there was the 17-year-old Draylon Mason, 17 years old, with his mom who was injured but lived, another porch bomb. And it was reported that these two people, even though they have different last names, are related. They're from an extended family. A third person was a Hispanic woman, but they were saying that she wasn't the actual target. It was somebody else that was part of this extended family. And that was told in the press conference on Sunday when he actually was reaching out to whoever this person is, the Austin bomber, saying, "You're obviously trying to tell us something, but we don't know what message you're trying to send, and we want to know." Asking him to contact, the authorities or whatever, but at the same time increasing the reward for anything leading to an arrest. From, I don't know what it was. I know there was the reward for $15,000 from the governor, and then that day he added the $100,000, or he increased it to $100,000. So then it was $115,000. But then later that same night, after that press conference, the bomb with the two bicyclists, and that was the one with the tripwire that was attached to the fence, and the bicyclists, the two white males in their 20s, ran through that and it injured them. They ended up in the hospital. And, the assumption was by me that the press conference increasing the reward for something leading to an arrest, seemed to make the person angry. That would be the conclusion I came to, and caused, that bombing. So then we had the FedEx facility bombing last night at 12:30 a.m. That puts it at, that would be the fifth bombing, and this would have been the sixth, if in fact it is related to, this one at the Goodwill location. So that's where we are right now. We're waiting for the press conference. You know what? I'm going to pause here, and I'll tune back in as soon as they come to inform everybody what's going on. There's a massive media presence here right now. There's ATF, there's FBI. This press conference is supposed to be coming in the next 5 minutes. I'll pause and come back.
Eli Reyes, E-L-Y,
press conference
R-E-Y-E-S.
going
I'm
live right now.
Chief of Police with the Austin Police Department. And with me, I have Assistant City Manager Ray Ariano, as well as Assistant Chief Chris McElvain. Tonight at approximately 7 p.m., the Austin Police Department received a call that came through Travis County. The call was upgraded to a bomb hotshot call that occurred at the Goodwill in the 9800 block of Brody Lane. APD officers responded to the scene. Upon the initial investigation, officers determined that a Goodwill employee had found a box that someone had dropped out that contained some items that employee didn't think the Goodwill wanted to have. He had passed that box off to another employee who was told to dispose of the box. That employee took the box around the corner, and upon looking inside of it, it had two small devices that were artillery simulators that looks like some type of military ordnance or some type of memento. The employee handled one of those devices, at which time it initiated, and the employee sustained an injury. That employee was transported to the hospital, and he is doing well, and he is recovering. Of course, as you can imagine, with all of the incidents that have been going around in the Austin area recently, we responded to this with our EOD team, along with our federal partners from the ATF and FBI, to investigate this, just as we did all of the rest of the incidents that occurred in the city as an explosive device. After our investigation on scene, we did determine that this was not an explosive device. This incident is not related to any of the other incidents that we've had here in Austin. This was a old military type ordinance that initiated in this person's hand, and it did cause injury. There is no reason for us to believe that it is related to any of the other incidents that have occurred, and we're thankful that we got the response that we did. And we just want to reiterate to the community that if you see something suspicious, if you have a suspicious box, a suspicious package, that you continue to call 911. We are receiving a lot of calls about suspicious packages, and we want the community to continue to be vigilant and notify us of these packages as they come in. We will respond to every single one of these. We are fortunate that we are being aided by our federal partners, by other EOD units around the state and around the country that have come in to help with these calls. And we want everyone to know that if you see something, say something. We are in this together as a community. We want all of these incidents resolved, and we want them solved quickly. And we can do that together as a community with your help. With that, I can open up to any other questions about this incident here on Brody Lane tonight.
What happened with the car on fire on Slaughter?
Will anyone face charges for this?
That's going to be part of the investigation. We will be reviewing the video footage at the Goodwill to determine who dropped the device off, if we can identify that person.
What happened to the car on fire on Slaughter?
There was a vehicle that did catch on fire there. It was not related to any other incident. It was a mechanical failure.
Could this be an attempt at a copycat?
We have no reason to believe that this is an attempt at a copycat.
The Attorney General tonight indicated that he believed from his sources that this was connected, and said that on national television.
I can't comment on what the Attorney General said.
Does it seem like this was malicious? Like they meant to harm someone, or they did not mean to harm someone?
That'll be part of the investigation, but I will let you know that a lot of times these military type mementos are found by family members, and do not know how to dispose of these devices. So if you have a family member, or you have something that you find in a garage that looks like a military device or a memento, please call 911 and we will send someone out to inspect it. And we have the equipment and we have the capability to dispose of these devices properly.
So, Chief, you know who left the box?
We do not know who left the box.
Chief,
What do you mean by an incendiary device?
Could you give us the rundown at this point about how many devices, how many have detonated, what the connected devices are?
I'm not going to discuss any of the other devices that we're investigating right now.
You think they used a trail to get away?
Can we say what the military devices actually were?
Yeah.
These were about approximately 6 inches in length, almost like a 40 millimeter type artillery simulator device.
Last question.
Flare of some sort? Is it some sort of military flare, military memento?
It was an artillery simulator.
Thank you.
Do you know what
Thank you.
the image was? No comment on the trail? No comment on use of a trail?
Well, this appears to be just a coincidence in terms of what we've been talking about since March 2nd in Austin. That officer, Eli Reyes, the assistant chief in the city of Austin.
A couple things. There is the FedEx drop-off location. And I learned right before they went live with that suppose there's, where the FBI was there all day today in Austin. And the 2 packages that ended up at the FedEx facility in San Antonio, that's where they originated. And then they were scheduled to be shipped back to Austin. So that's what was going on there. But there's surveillance cameras throughout that FedEx drop-off location that the FBI was at, and so people, authorities are hopeful that they pick something up on them. I find it highly unlikely that this person, as sophisticated as they were, would not be aware of that and wouldn't have thought of that. But so there's that. The other thing was that reporter had shouted out about trails, and I had heard Alex Jones, who's lives in Austin. I think his studio, and he broadcasts from Austin, Texas, as I understand it. He was saying that that's how the bomber was doing this too, is that he was parking his car somewhere at a distance from wherever his intended target was, and knew the area well enough that he knew trails. I mean, I remember when we were kids, we used to go through the woods and used to use trails all the time, biking trails and so on, for miles and miles, and knew the trails of the parts of Austin where he could get out of his car, go through the woods, go to wherever he wanted to go, do it, and then retreat back into the woods, take the trails back to his vehicle and get out of there without being seen by surveillance cameras and stuff like that. That's why that reporter, I think, was shouting out, is there, a report of using a trail? I don't know that he was watching Alex Jones, but that's the second time I've heard that. So it's interesting. But this latest incident, the sixth bomb that is not related, it's just an incendiary device. I mean, I don't know. I find that pretty weird. I really do. I almost find it hard to believe. I almost thought the coincidence is just so huge, but that's what they're saying. So I guess and it wasn't an explosion. So, but that's it for now. And thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel, the Charlton Backup channel. Give me a like down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.